नमस्कार, स्वागत है आप सभी का। मैं हूं आपके साथ अनु सिंह। खबरों की शुरुआत इस वक्त की बड़ी खबर से, और ऐसी खबर जिससे आपको राहत मिल सकती है। जी हां, रिजर्व बैंक आज मौद्रिक नीति की समीक्षा का ऐलान कर चुका है और इस वित्त वर्ष की दूसरी द्विमासिक समीक्षा का रेपो रेट काटा गया है। इसमें विशेषज्ञों का कहना है कि इस समीक्षा में केंद्रीय बैंक रेपो रेट में 0.25% की कटौती की गई है। आपको बता दें कि रेपो रेट की घटने का मतलब यह है कि ब्याज दरों में अब कटौती होगी। इससे कर्ज लेना आपके लिए सस्ता हो जाएगा। रेपो रेट को 6.0% से घटाकर 5.75% कर दिया गया है। आपको बता दें कि इस साल मार्च में खत्म तिमाही में जीडीपी वृद्धि दर की गिरकर 5.8% पर आने पर 2018-19 का विकास दर 6.8% रह गया, जिसके बाद अब ये कुछ फैसले लिए गए हैं। ईएमआई कम होने से रास्ता साफ हुआ है। और सीधा अब आपको सुनाते हैं कि आरबीआई के गवर्नर इस वक्त क्या कह रहे हैं।
Decision. I also wish to express my gratitude to our teams in the Reserve Bank of India for their hard work and diligence in providing valuable support and inputs to the MPC for its work. Let me now turn to the key global and domestic developments that the MPC has reviewed. At the outset, the MPC noted that global economic activity has not been able to sustain the improved performance seen in the first quarter of the calendar 2019 in the face of deepening slowdown in trade and manufacturing, which has impacted advanced and emerging market economies alike. Inflation remains below the target in several economies. In advanced economies, incoming data for second quarter of 2019 point to loss of momentum relative to the first quarter. In the major emerging market economies, economic activity has either slowed or has contracted. It is in this context that the central banks across the world have moved to an accommodative stance in setting monetary policy. Financial markets have been unsettled by the acrimonious US-China trade tensions. Crude oil prices remain volatile, reflecting evolving demand-supply conditions and geopolitical concerns. Most emerging market economy currencies have depreciated against the US dollar. On the domestic front, the MPC noted that the May 31st, 2019 data release of the National Statistical Office showed that the GDP growth for 2018-19 has been placed lower by 20 basis points at 6.8% relative to its February 28th estimate. In Q4 18-19, GDP growth decelerated sharply to 5.8%, down from 6.6% in Q3 and 8.1% a year ago. On the supply side, agriculture and allied activities contracted while manufacturing activity weakened sharply. Service sector growth accelerated, although construction activity slowed down markedly. Looking ahead, the Indian Meteorological Department has predicted that the southwest monsoon rainfall, that is June to September 2019, is likely to be normal at 96% of the long period average. The third advance estimates of food grain production at 283.4 million tons for 2018-19 were lower by only 0.6% as compared with the final estimates for the previous year. Further, the stock of food grains at 72.6 million tons as on May 16, 2019 were 3.4 times the prescribed buffer norms and provide a backstop against any supply disruptions due to weather adversities. In the industrial sector, growth in 8 core industries decelerated sharply in April. Credit flows from banks to large industries, however, strengthened, though they remained somewhat muted for micro, small and medium industries. Seasonally adjusted capacity utilization in the manufacturing sector slipped to 75.2% in Q4 from 75.8% in Q3. Import of capital goods, a key indicator of investment activity, remained anemic in April. High-frequency indicators suggest moderation in activity in the service sector. Turning to inflation, the MPC took note of the fact that retail CPI inflation remained unchanged in April from its March level of 2.9%. Higher inflation in food and fuel groups was offset by lower inflation in items excluding food and fuel. Inflation expectations of households in May 2019 round of RBI survey declined by 20 basis points for the 3-month ahead horizon compared with the previous round, but remained unchanged for the 1-year ahead horizon. Normal growth in rural wages and in the organized sector staff costs remain muted. Liquidity in the system turned to an average daily surplus in early June after remaining in deficit during April and most of May due to restrained government spending. Apart from liquidity injections through LAF operations, the RBI conducted two OMO purchase auctions in the month of May amounting to 25,000 crore and a US dollar buy-sell swap auction of $5 billion equivalent to 34,874 crore for a tenor of 3 years to inject durable liquidity into the system. An OMO purchase auction of rupees 15,000 crore has already been announced to be held on June 13th, and this will be naturally, the auction would be held during next week. Transmission of cumulative reduction of 50 basis points in the policy repo rate in February and April 19 was 21 basis points to the weighted average lending rate, that is WLR, on fresh rupee loans. Interest rates on lower tenor money market instruments remained broadly aligned with the overnight WACR, reflecting near full transmission of the reduction in policy rate. The 10-year government securities benchmark yield has also declined by about 40 basis points from its average in April 2019 to about 7%. This was the position before we announced before the MPC resolution and the decisions were put in the public domain. Thereafter, the developments I have to see. The Reserve Bank will ensure that adequate liquidity is available in the system for all productive purposes. Exports grew by 0.6% in April 2019, but imports grew at a somewhat accelerated pace, leading to a widening of trade deficit. After a sharp recovery in March, net foreign portfolio inflows have been relatively modest at US $2.3 billion in 1920 during the months of April and May. India's foreign exchange reserves were at 421.9 billion. I repeat, 421.9 billion as on 31st May 2019. Taking into account these factors, the impact of the recent policy rate cuts, and assuming normal monsoon in 2019, the MPC revised the path of CPI inflation to 3 to 3.1% for H1 2019-20 and 3.4 to 3.7% for H2 of 1920, with risks broadly balanced, as against 2.4% for Q4 of 18-19, 2.9 to 3% for H1 of 1920, and 3.5 to 3.8% for H2 of 2019-20. Risks around the baseline inflation trajectory emanate from uncertainties relating to monsoon, unseasonal spikes in vegetable prices, international fuel prices and their pass-through to domestic prices, geopolitical tensions and financial market volatility, and the overall fiscal scenario. The headline inflation trajectory remains below the target even after taking into account the expected transmission of the past two policy rate cuts. Hence, there is scope to boost aggregate demand and in particular private investment activity while remaining consistent with the mandate of flexible inflation targeting. The MPC also revised the projection of GDP growth for 1920 to 7% in the range of 6.4 to 6.7% for H1 and 7.2 to 7.5% for H2 of 2019-20, with risks evenly balanced, as against 7.2% in the range of 6.8 to 7.1% for H1 and 7.3 to 7.4% for H2, with risks evenly balanced, which was the earlier projection. The MPC noted that growth impulses have significantly weakened, as reflected in a further widening of the output gap. So I have broadly explained the background of the decision of the Monetary Policy Committee to shift the stance to accommodative, and also to for a rate cut of 25 basis points. Let me now set out some of the developmental and regulatory policy measures that we have announced today. In the area of regulation and supervision, banks have been monitored against an indicative Basel III leverage ratio of 4.5% to mitigate risks of excessive leverage. Keeping in mind financial stability and with a view to moving further towards harmonization with Basel III standards, it has been decided that the minimum leverage ratio should be 4% for domestic systemically important banks and 3.5% for other banks. In pursuance of the guidelines for licensing of payment banks and small finance banks of 27th November 2014, it is proposed to issue draft guidelines for on-tap licensing of small finance banks by end of August 2019. More time is, however, needed to review the performance of Payments Bank before considering the license of more Payments Bank to be on tap. It may be recalled that in August 2010, the Reserve Bank introduced a separate framework for regulation of systemically important core investment companies. In the light of the increased complexity of these corporate structures, their growing interconnectedness with the financial system, and the various recent developments, it has been decided to set up a working group to review the regulatory guidelines and supervisory framework applicable to the CICs. Turning to financial markets, it has been decided to constitute an internal working group to review comprehensively the existing liquidity management framework and suggest measures to simplify the current liquidity management framework and clearly communicate the objectives, quantitative measures, and toolkit of liquidity management by the RBI. The group is expected to submit its report by mid-July 2019. In October 2017, the Reserve Bank had proposed the setting up of a foreign exchange trading platform for retail participants that would provide customers with access to an electronic trading platform through an internet-based application on which they can purchase, sell foreign currency at market clearing prices. The trading platform has now been developed by the Clearing Corporation of India and is being tested by the users. The platform will be available to users for transactions from early August 2019. Operational guidelines for the platform will be issued by end of June 2019. It has been the endeavor of the Reserve Bank to increase retail participation in government security market. In addition to the scheduled commercial banks and primary dealers, it has been decided to also allow specified stock exchanges approved by SEBI to act as aggregators, facilitators, to aggregate the bids of their stockbrokers and other retail participants and submit a single consolidated bid under the non-competitive segment of primary auctions of the state development loans. This measure will be implemented in consultation with the respective state governments. In the area of payment and settlement systems, it has been decided to do away with the charges levied by the Reserve Bank for transactions processed in the RTGS and NEFT systems in order to provide an impetus to digital funds movement. Banks will be required in turn to pass these benefits to their customers. Instructions to banks in this regard will be issued within a week. Finally, with the usage of automated teller machines, that is ATMs, growing significantly, it has been decided to set up a committee involving all stakeholders under the chairmanship of the Chief Executive Officer, Indian Banks Association, to examine the entire gamut of ATM charges and fees. The committee is expected to submit its recommendations within 2 months of its first meeting. Thank you. I'll stop here and then we will take questions and observations.
Thanks,
Yes,
Sir.
please.
Good morning, Governor. Lata from CNBC TV 18.
तो रिजर्व बैंक की ओर से ये ऐलान कर दिया गया है कि अब रेपो रेट घटाई गई है और इसका सीधा फायदा मिलेगा आम जनता को और साथ ही बैंकों को भी हिदायत दी गई है कि इसका जल्द से जल्द फायदा आम ग्राहकों को दिया जाए और इसे लेकर नोटिफिकेशन भी जल्द ही जारी कर दी जाएगी। और ज्यादा जानकारी के लिए सीधा हमारे संवाददाता अंकुश जायसवाल का रुख करेंगे। अंकुश, जरा आसान भाषा में ये समझाइए कि जब ये रेपो रेट कम की जाती है तो आम लोगों को इसका किस तरह से फायदा मिलता है?
जी बिल्कुल अन्नू, सबसे पहले जब से शशिकांत दास गवर्नर बने हैं आरबीआई के, तो ये तीसरी बार लगातार ऐसा हुआ है कि रेपो रेट में लगातार गिरावट देखने को मिली है। और आरबीआई जो ने अपना जो रुख है पहले न्यूट्रल करती थी, लेकिन अब धीरे धीरे वो एकोमोडेटिव करती जा रही है। हालांकि उम्मीद जताई जा रही थी कि जो रेपो रेट है वो 0.35 तक वो कम कर सकती है। ये तय था कि रेपो रेट कम होंगे, लेकिन 0.25 से बढ़कर ही कम हो गए, ये आकलन लगाए जा रहे थे, लेकिन ऐसा कुछ नहीं हुआ। जो रेपो रेट की जो कमी आई है वो 0.25 की है। इसका मतलब यह है कि अब तक जो 6% रेपो रेट थी, अब वो घटकर 5.75 कर दी गई है। रेपो रेट दरअसल एक ब्याज दर होती है जिससे जो नॉर्मल बैंक होती है वो आरबीआई से फंड लेती है। अगर नॉर्मल बैंक के पास फंड की कमी होती है तो इसकी भरपाई करने के लिए वो आरबीआई का दरवाजा खटखटाती है और इस तय रेपो रेट की दरों पर, जो अब तक 6% थी लेकिन अब 5.75% हुई है, उस दरों पर आरबीआई जो है बैंकों को लोन देती है। यानी सीधे सीधे जो आरबीआई ने जो बैंकों को जो लोन देती है उसकी ब्याज दरें घटाई है, तो बैंक भी इसका जो फायदा है वो ग्राहकों को, जो एंड यूजर है उसको पहुंचाएगी। यानी अब तक जो फ्लेक्चुअल ईएमआई होती, जिन्होंने होम लोन ले रखा था, जो फ्लेक्चुअल ईएमआई थी वो कम होंगी। इसके अलावा जो नए होम लोन या कार लोन लेके ग्राहक बैंकों से, उसमें भी काफी कमी देखने को मिलेगी। हालांकि जैसा कि मैंने कहा कि उम्मीद जताई जा रही थी कि 0.25 से ज्यादा वो कमी करेगी, वैसा कुछ नहीं हुआ। 0.25 रेपो रेट को कम किया गया है। रिजर्व रेपो रेट को भी 0.25 कम किया गया है। पहले 5.75 थी, अब 5.50 होगी। हालांकि सीआरआर में कोई भी किसी भी तरीके का बदलाव नहीं किया गया है।
ठीक, अंकुश बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया इस